Buzz sessions are a great teaching strategy to implement in the classroom. So let's get started with a topic. Let's say greetings. Pretend we're in class and the teacher asks us the question, how do you greet someone? And let's pretend that you and I are in a group with one other person. And I would tell you that when I greet someone that I maybe, if they're new to me, I shake their hand and I make eye contact with them. And then you'll say that if it's your friend, you'll just say hi, ask them how they are. And let's pretend that the other person in our group, his family is from France. And what he's seen when people greet each other, like family and close relatives, they actually kiss each other on the cheeks. He comes from a completely different culture. And by sharing this, we have learned a lot of information that, hey, other people are different from us and that all ideas are unique and is pretty interesting. So if we did not do a buzz session, we would not have learned this information because not all students are outright with their answers and some may be more shy than others. And the whole idea of this buzz session is to get everyone involved in the conversation. So within the small groups, everyone is to give at least one idea. And by having a small group, people feel more comfortable with sharing their information. Once all of our information has been shared and we've come up with our ideas, then we can have a spokesperson that wants to talk for our group when it's time to come back to a whole group discussion. So let's lay out the format for a buzz session. Buzz sessions are deliberately planned short discussions among small groups. So by small groups, I mean about 2 to 4 students. The time is usually relatively short, about 5 minutes. If the topic is a harder topic, then I would recommend extending that time based on the needs of your students. And the topic is always determined by the teacher. So I have seen mostly the teacher giving one topic and one question as a class whole. But if you wanted to differentiate a little more, you could make the topics different for each group. They could be centered around one big thing and then have subtopics for every group and then come back together as a whole class. So the format is laid out as determine a small group. The teacher picks this out beforehand. It could be the people nearby. You could break them up into small groups based on a pre-assessment that you saw. And then once the groups have talked to each other, they'll return to the whole class and we'll all discuss. Or you could pair up 2 small groups together and have them discuss as a bigger subgroup. The purpose of using buzz sessions is to give feedback to the teacher about what the students know, what misconceptions they may have. The best thing for the students is they hear multiple perspectives, multiple ideas. They may agree or disagree, but the students can argue about our content. I know a lot of my gifted students, they like to be correct, and they may not always be correct. And it's good to hear from other people and other perspectives and see how they see things and be like, that makes so much sense. And it helps build their knowledge and build that schema. So, um, the discussions is very, very important. And intense topic discussion occurs within these small groups. So it's important that this is supporting the whole lesson and it's not the main focus of your lesson. It's just a supplementary activity. During bus sessions, I think it would be a good idea for the students to write down maybe some ideas as they're talking within their group, and this would really help it help if you had a spokesperson, if they may have forgotten something to speak out to the class about if we wrote it down on a piece of paper. And once the students come back to the whole class, each group should have the opportunity to talk and share at least one of their ideas. I think that it's important that all the groups have at least one idea to share and not one group try to dominate the conversation because that does happen in the regular classroom. So once everybody has shared their ideas, you could go back and ask if anyone else had any ideas that were not shared already. And the teacher would act as the facilitator during this. They would ask questions, lead the discussion, write down the ideas on the boards that the students have. And buzz sessions can be used at the beginning of a lesson, maybe as a bell ringer type thing, or they could be after a direct instruction or a mini lesson so that you get different ways to work with it. It could be to get their brains going or to tie things together or just both. It kind of does both. So, an example in math would be when we're talking about the coordinate plane, I could ask the question, what would happen if you were to flip the ordered pair -6, -2 over the x-axis? The students would work with their predetermined small groups to discuss the ideas. And as the students are discussing, the teacher would walk around and listen to the conversations that are happening among the group and answer any questions that the students may have. And maybe the teacher overheard some student responses saying the ordered pairs started in quadrant 4 and then that moved to quadrant 2. Well, the teacher would know that that is actually incorrect and that might be something that she needs to address when they come to the whole group. Or maybe she could address that might be a good thing she wants everyone to hear. Or maybe she would like to address that at the time and tell the students that, hey, this is what I want to do when we come back together, and I want to talk about this because other people probably messed this up as well. And the coordinate x could stay the same in the ordered pair when it flips over the x-axis, and the teacher might also overhear that the y-coordinate changes to a negative whenever the um, coordinate plane it flips over the x-axis. So the bus session continues with the math session. The teacher will cue the groups when to wrap up their discussions, maybe give them a minute warning, and then come together as a whole class. Each group will give one idea or example for the whole class to hear. The teacher will facilitate the lesson and write down the ideas. Okay, here's a science example. Let's say we're talking about the water cycle. And the question would be, how does the water cycle affect biotic organisms? And so this question could follow a lesson on the water cycle. This would be more of tying things together. So the teacher could have the water cycle, which the students learned about, and tied in with the animals and the vegetation and other things that they may have learned in this year. It would be a great idea to get this together for the students to work together. So overall, buzz sessions are small groups, short amount of time, about 5 minutes. Everybody participates in the discussion. The teacher facilitates, asks questions, and answer questions. And the big thing is that buzz sessions are to supplement a lesson. They are to get interaction within the lesson and have all the students participate and come up with ideas. And here are the references that I used.